While the world was watching Swiss banks, the ultra-wealthy quietly moved their secrets elsewhere. Welcome to the rise of Banco Privado, a new shadow banking system operating out of Latin America, beyond the reach of regulators and journalists. This is not a story about loopholes. It's a story about an entire ecosystem built to protect wealth from taxes, justice, and public scrutiny. From fake exports in Paraguay to boutique banks in Panama, we follow the money through shell companies, corrupt enablers, and secret vaults. In this episode of Wealth Decoded, we reveal how global elites found a new home for hidden trillions, and how the rest of us were never meant to find out. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to decode how wealth truly works. Switzerland may have invented secret banking, but today it's not Zurich or Geneva that guards the world's darkest fortunes. It's Panama, it's Uruguay, it's a town on the Paraguay, Brazil-Argentina border you've never heard of. Welcome to the new financial underworld, where secrecy didn't die. It evolved, stronger, smarter, closer to home. In this episode of Wealth Decoded, we expose how Banco Privado, Latin America's answer to Swiss banking, has become the preferred hiding place for billions, used by politicians, cartels, soccer stars, and CEOs, protected by lawyers, accountants, and presidents, invisible to regulators, untouchable by law. This is the hidden story of how wealth escaped oversight by simply changing continents. Why should you care where billionaires hide their money? Because when they hide it, you pay for it. Billions vanish offshore every year. That's money not going to hospitals, not fixing roads, not lifting people out of poverty. Secret banking isn't just a financial trick. It's an erosion of democracy, a mechanism that protects the powerful while weakening the public. In Latin America, it helps corrupt regimes stay in power. It fuels the drug trade, it launders bribes, and it creates a world where power escapes accountability, behind shell companies and private vaults. So this story isn't about banking, it's about justice, and who gets to live above the law. Banco Privado means private bank, but in Latin America, it means something more. It means total discretion. It means zero questions asked. It means a financial fortress for the ultra-rich. These aren't like the big-name banks, you know. They're quiet, unregulated, and often invisible. Sometimes just a lawyer's office with access to global wire systems. They promise secrecy and deliver it. No regulators, no leaks, no accountability. Originally inspired by the elite banks of Switzerland, Latin America's Banco Privado system is more aggressive, more flexible, and more dangerous. It's the perfect tool for anyone trying to move large sums of money away from scrutiny, whether you're a billionaire avoiding taxes or a cartel hiding blood cash. And as you'll soon see, it's thriving. By the early 2000s, global patience ran out. The US passed FATCA, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act. In 2010, it forced all foreign banks to report American account holders or face crippling sanctions. The first cracks appeared fast. In 2009, UBS, Switzerland's largest bank, admitted it helped Americans hide billions offshore. Its banker, Bradley Birkenfeld, became a whistleblower, while another executive was arrested on US soil. Then came HSBC leaks, the Panama Papers, and Swiss leaks, exposing everyone from Iceland's prime minister to France's budget minister, who ironically was caught hiding money while overseeing tax policy. The Swiss fortress of silence was no longer safe. Accounts were frozen, clients fled, and bankers were either cooperating or facing handcuffs. As the old system collapsed, the wealthy searched for a new haven, and Latin America was ready. Elites, especially from Latin America, didn't stop hiding their money. They just moved it. Billions flowed out of Switzerland and into jurisdictions with weaker laws and friendlier regimes. Why go to Zurich when you can get the same secrecy in Panama with no scrutiny? Why fly to Geneva when your lawyer in Uruguay can open an anonymous shell company in an hour? Swiss bankers began consulting, Latin lawyers began selling, and a new secrecy network began rising, faster, cheaper, and more untraceable than ever before. Panama, Uruguay, Paraguay, 3 countries, each with its own secret. Panama built a corporate shell empire, tens of thousands of companies, no real owners. Uruguay gave wealthy Argentinians a discreet banking beach escape with near zero oversight. And Paraguay? it became the region's wild card. A no-questions-asked zone for everything from contraband to crypto, especially in the lawless Triple Frontier. What started as an escape route from Swiss scrutiny quickly turned into a fully developed Latin banking underworld, a system not just tolerated, but protected. Panama is one of the most famous tax havens on Earth, not because it's secretive, but because it was caught. In 2016, a leak from law firm Mossack Fonseca exposed over 214,000 shell companies set up to hide wealth for elites, criminals, and politicians from over 200 countries. The world called it the Panama Papers. Among the names, Vladimir Putin's allies, the Prime Minister of Iceland, and Lionel Messi. Despite the scandal, Panama's offshore economy continued. It still ranks number 12 on the Financial Secrecy Index. Shell companies here don't need owners. Directors can be fake. No real business? No problem. And so, Panama remains the world's shell company factory, hiding billions, often in plain sight. Uruguay built its reputation as the Switzerland of South America, quiet, stable, trusted, and discreet. Wealthy Argentinians fled inflation and capital controls by parking their money in Uruguay. By 2021, over $6 billion in non-resident deposits flowed into its banks, much of it undeclared in home countries. Until 2017, Uruguay even allowed bearer shares, paper stock certificates that belonged to whoever physically held them, with no names or ownership records. These tools, often used to hide money and avoid taxes, have been banned in most of the world because they made it nearly impossible to trace who actually owned a company. The result? Thousands of anonymous corporations were set up in Montevideo to buy real estate, export goods, or simply sit quietly in offshore accounts. The secrecy is legal, the enforcement, light, and the political will to reform, nearly non-existent. For Latin America's elite, Uruguay is still the velvet vault, safe, close, and silent. Paraguay doesn't show up in your typical list of tax havens, but among traffickers, money launderers, and smugglers, it's a secret weapon. The Triple Frontier, where Paraguay meets Brazil and Argentina, moves an estimated $10 billion in illicit flows annually, according to Global Financial Integrity. Here, banks ask few questions. Shell companies are easy to register, and the use of cash and crypto makes money even harder to trace. Even U.S. Treasury reports warn of weak financial oversight and links to organized crime. Interpol has flagged the region for suspected terrorist financing, including Hezbollah fundraising. Paraguay isn't just secretive, it's barely regulated and often complicit. It's the wild card of Latin American finance and a growing node in the global network of invisible money. This secret banking web isn't just for criminals in the shadows. It's for people you've heard of: presidents, soccer stars, and CEOs. Lionel Messi, one of football's biggest names, was exposed in the Panama Papers for using a shell company in Panama, Megastar Enterprises, to hide image rights income. Mauricio Macri, former president of Argentina, was tied to Fleg Trading Limited, a Bahamian offshore company, never disclosed while he was in office. In Brazil, executives at Petrobras funneled bribes through Uruguayan and Paraguayan shells, part of the sweeping Lava Jato scandal. And in Paraguay, former President Horacio Cartes was designated by the U.S. as significantly corrupt, accused of laundering millions via banks and shell companies near the Triple Frontier. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a financial reality, and Latin America's Banco Privado is their vault. Now let's dissect how this system, built in shadows and silence, came to be. Every secret banking scheme starts the same way. You need a company that doesn't really exist. In Panama or Uruguay, lawyers will set one up in a day, give it a name, appoint fake directors, register it at a P.O. box. Done. These are called shell companies. They don't make products, they don't employ workers, but they do own yachts, luxury apartments, and bank accounts. Your name never appears. The lawyer signs the documents. The ownership is hidden behind layers of proxies and trusts, and if regulators come asking, they hit a wall of secrecy. That's why Latin America's Banco Privado system starts with the shell, because every hidden fortune needs a fake identity. Once you have a shell company, you need a reason to move money. This is where the fake deal comes in. Say your Paraguayan company imports office chairs from your Panamanian shell. You send an invoice for $2 million. No chairs ever arrive, but the money does. Clean, legal, and explained. Other times, the scam is a consulting contract. Vague services, no deliverables, just payments offshore. It sounds absurd, but it's incredibly common. Behind every fake deal is real money, flowing from public budgets, drug sales, or tax evasion. It's not creative accounting, it's systemic laundering. Now that the fake deal is done, it's time to hide the trail. The trick is layering. Moving money through multiple jurisdictions, currencies, and entities to break the link between source and destination. Your shell company in Panama wires funds to a bank in Belize, then from Belize to a lawyer's trust in Uruguay, then onward to a property company in Spain. Each move adds a layer of complexity and legal distance. If done right, even forensic auditors can't untangle the chain. And every jurisdiction along the path has its own rules, loopholes, or lack of enforcement. In Latin America, this step is easy because the laws aren't built to stop money laundering, they're built to facilitate it quietly. This isn't just about criminals being clever. It's about powerful institutions looking away or joining in. Local politicians protect loopholes in exchange for campaign donations. Lawyers and notaries set up the shells, accountants certify the fake invoices, and banks, often international ones, approve the transfers. Some banks are lazy, some are complicit, and some are just too profitable to care. In Uruguay, dozens of small banks serve foreign clients without basic due diligence. In Panama, law firms became more powerful than regulators. In Paraguay, cash-heavy institutions barely file suspicious transaction reports. This isn't a system that failed. It's a system that works exactly as intended for those at the top. Even global banks, the ones on Wall Street and in Zurich, play a role. HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, all have been fined for facilitating money laundering, including schemes linked to Latin America. In 2012, HSBC paid $1.9 billion after admitting it moved money for drug cartels in Mexico. Deutsche Bank processed billions in suspicious trades across Panama and Russia. Credit Suisse, once the symbol of Swiss banking, closed its private banking division in Latin America after repeated scandals. These banks often claim ignorance, but leaked emails, whistleblowers, and criminal trials say otherwise. Because in the end, dirty money needs a clean exit, and that means reaching the global financial system. Sometimes the system gets caught. Panama's Mossack Fonseca was shut down after the Panama Papers leak. Founders were arrested in 2020, facing money laundering charges. In Uruguay, several law firms were fined or closed, accused of setting up illegal offshore schemes. In Paraguay, two major financial institutions were recently sanctioned by U.S. authorities for laundering cartel money through crypto and cash-based shell companies. But for every enabler punished, dozens more remain untouched. Why? Because this system isn't built on one law firm or one bank. It's a network woven into politics, law, finance, and global trade. And while some fall, most simply adapt. This hidden world might have stayed hidden, if not for a leak that changed everything. In 2016, an anonymous whistleblower handed 11.5 million files from Mossack Fonseca to a German newspaper. This became the Panama Papers, and it shook the world. Suddenly, the offshore accounts of the powerful were no longer secrets. King Salman of Saudi Arabia, linked to luxury homes in London via offshore firms. Shakira and Jackie Chan used offshore companies to manage assets and royalties. Lionel Messi, fined for tax fraud related to Panamanian image rights firms. Nawaz Sharif, Prime Minister of Pakistan, removed from office after revelations of undeclared London properties. Iceland's PM Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson resigned after hiding millions offshore. Putin's inner circle used shell firms to quietly move billions. Journalists from 80-plus countries worked together, and for the first time, the world saw what the wealthy do when no one is watching. The biggest scandal wasn't what was illegal, it was what was legal. Because most of these offshore systems weren't about crime. They were about hiding wealth legally, from taxes, spouses, courts, or citizens. According to economists, up to $8 to $10 trillion is hidden offshore. That's about 10% of global GDP. While the poor pay taxes, the wealthy play by different rules. They don't need to break the law, they just bend it until it breaks society. Banco Privado in Latin America is just one part of this system. A regional node in a global architecture of secrecy. And it's built to keep power where it is and invisible to everyone else. So what happened after the leaks? Some laws changed. Some banks paid fines. Some enablers were arrested. But the system didn't die. It evolved. Instead of Panama, the wealthy moved to Dubai, the Cayman Islands, even US states like Delaware. Instead of paper trails, they use crypto, trusts, golden passports, and private foundations. The same old strategy, new tools, new faces, same results. Latin America's Banco Privado model may be quiet, but it's not over. Because wherever secrecy is sold and accountability is weak, the system will find new life, and those who understand how it works will always stay one step ahead. This story isn't just about Panama or Paraguay. It's not just about one lawyer, one banker, or one leak. It's about a global system, one that moves faster than justice, stronger than borders, and bigger than any one nation's laws. From Swiss vaults to Uruguayan trust firms, from fake exports in Asunción to luxury condos in Miami, the Banco Privado model lives on because money once hidden is nearly impossible to trace back. And while a few scandals make headlines, most of it stays in the shadows. That's why we created Wealth Decoded, to expose the architecture of financial secrecy, to ask the questions others won't, and to show you how power is really protected. If this opened your eyes, subscribe, like, and share. There's more to decode.